Good morning, everybody. Thanks for taking the time to join us today. We have a really informative webinar today on the top electrical hazards in restaurants and bars, something we deal a lot with. We're going to start out with just a couple of quick housekeeping notes. Today we do have a slideshow that's going to follow along with the conversation as we have it. There will be a question and answer period at the end, so any questions you have, as you think of them, put them in the chat function. On the control panel, there's a chat tab. Just put your questions in there and hit enter, and I'll collect those as we're going along, and at the end, we can answer all of them we possibly can. After today's presentation, it is recorded, and it'll be on our YouTube channel for you to access anytime. If you want to show coworkers, employees, whatever, they can always access it on a smartphone or a tablet. So it will be there. It's just Society Insurance YouTube channel. If you're not familiar with Society Insurance, just a quick overview of the company. We are a regional carrier. It's based out of Fond du Lac, Wisconsin. Right now we do business in 9 states: Wisconsin, Illinois, Indiana, Iowa, Tennessee, Minnesota, Georgia, Colorado, and our newest addition is the great state of Texas. We've been writing workers' comp coverage since 1915. Today we have property, general liability, commercial auto coverage. We really focus on the hospitality industry, and we really like to keep that focus because that helps us, pay attention to the small details that make the big differences for the businesses we serve. Today we have 3 presenters. My name is Shelby Blundell. I'm a risk improvement rep with Society Insurance. I'll be moderating. We have Adam Olenek.
Yeah. Hey, everybody. As he stated, my name is Adam Olenek. I have a bachelor's degree in occupational and environmental safety and health from the University of Wisconsin-Whitewater. I was a firefighter EMT for 5 years with 2 different departments, and I currently hold the designation of certified safety professional. I've also been in insurance loss control for 8 years now.
And we've got Mr. Mike Dilley.
Yeah, this is Mike Dilley. I have a Bachelor of Science degree in Industrial Safety Management from the University of Central Missouri. I've worked in the insurance industry in a variety of areas for the last 35 years. I've been at Society Insurance here for 8.5 years now, and I'm responsible for most of the state of Indiana.
All right, and Frank.
Hello, my name is Frank Norton. I'm a senior risk control consultant for Society Insurance. I cover the great states of Illinois and Indiana. I've been in the insurance business for over 40 years, and I've been working for Society Insurance for 11 years.
All right. As with everything, we have a little disclaimer. I'm not going to read it for you, but I'll give you a second to read through it. While you're looking at it, I will mention with the amazing technology, we are providing this webinar from 4 different locations across 3 states. So as most of us are working from home, so I have 2 Chihuahuas that think they need a speaking role in every webinar I do. So if you get a dog barking or horn honking or something, please bear with us, or the occasional technological mishap. So today we're going to cover things about the electrical hazards. We're going to learn about the top electrical hazards in restaurants and bars, learn how these common hazards can lead to electrical fires, damaged equipment, and electrical shock or electrocution. We're going to start out with a quick poll question just to get everybody thinking. If everybody could enter what they think the percentage of eating and drinking establishment fires that were caused by electrical distribution and lighting equipment. Is it 61%, B 9%, C 4%? All right, got most everybody has chimed in. I'm going to close that. Looks like 70% said, or it looks like 61% said it was A, 70%. The answer is actually B, 9%. According to NFPA's most recent study, for faulty appliances, worn or faulty electrical wiring, improper use of electrical outlets, things like that, worn out breaker boxes are responsible for 9% in eating and drinking establishments. Along with the fires, those hazards can cause electrocution, electrical shock. All right, got another quick question. I can get my computer to catch up. Electrical distribution and lighting equipment are responsible for what percentage of direct property damage costs in restaurants? Is it A, 38%, B, 21%, C, 10%? All right, give it just a minute. Got answers coming in. So right about 90%. This one had varied answers. Looks like A, 38% had the most answers. Adam, what do you think about that one? What's your answer on that?
So the answer is with the majority. It is 21%, and the answer is B. So according to a recent NFPA study, faulty appliances, worn or faulty wiring, improper use of the electrical outlets, and worn out breaker boxes are responsible for 21% of property damage in restaurants and bars. Some of the other direct property damages causes are things like cooking equipment at 38%, arson would be at 10%, HVAC equipment at 9%, and smoking materials at around 7%. But let's continue onward to my section. So the topics that I'm going to be covering today are going to be improperly installed non-metallic sheath cable, missing junction box covers, unprotected electrical outlets in the path of grease-laden vapors, and then also missing cover plates in the circuit breaker panel boxes. So first up, we'll start with improperly installed non-metallic wiring. So as you can see in these photos, these are examples of hanging wiring not being properly secured. So all electrical wiring should be secured in accordance with the National Fire Protection Association 70 standards, or NFPA for short. It's best practice to hire a professional licensed and insured electrician to do any electrical wiring work in your building. So often things like this happen because a licensed electrician wasn't used in the first place. So this can lead to multiple other issues happening as well, like incorrect clearances, where the wires are situated in the path of travel, which can lead to people tripping on the wiring, knocking into it. So by properly securing the wires, this can help prevent a potential fire or electrocution hazard. This is because unsecured wiring can become accidentally damaged and end up splicing, which can ultimately lead to a fire or an electrical shock if the current actually reaches you. So next up is missing junction box covers. So as you can see in the photos, there's open electrical junction boxes here. Non-combustible covers should be in place over the open electrical junction boxes in your building. These covers help to prevent electrical shorts or sparks from igniting surrounding materials that could be kept underneath or nearby the junction boxes area. This is especially important in like storage areas with nearby combustible boxes, dried food storage, etc. So kind of think about those designated storage areas and basement areas where boxes just tend to pile up. Are junction boxes properly covered in these areas for your business? Are the combustible materials located away from heat sources and the electrical equipment? These are just some good overall questions to ask yourself. So we'll continue on right here. So unprotected electrical outlets in the path of grease-laden vapors. So as you can see in these photographs, there are exposed electrical outlets located behind the cooking equipment. An open outlet is a fire hazard exposure, as those grease-laden vapors can accumulate inside of the electrical outlet. This may cause an electrical short or spark, which can ignite surrounding materials. The outlet should be removed or refitted with a GFCI, which is also known as a ground fault circuit interrupter type outlet. If there is not one already in place, there should also be a vapor-tight metal snap cover over the outlet to protect from grease-laden vapors from getting out into the outlet. Some owners have asked me if they can use those plastic baby safety outlet covers. Would that be able to work? The answer to that one is no. Really, the plastic actually kind of absorbs the grease, and then what ends up happening is those aren't properly sealed, so they're not really liquid tight. So that means they can kind of come loose over time, which kind of neglects the whole point. The metal snap covers too, as a bonus, they just make cleanup easier in the kitchen area as well. The GFCIs, they're used primarily to protect against fire or overheating issues. The GFCI is a fast-acting circuit breaker designed to turn off electrical power in the event of a ground fault situation. So a ground fault would occur if there was a break in the low resistance grounding path from a piece of equipment or the electrical system itself. So my final section before I get to hand you guys off is actually about missing cover plates located in the circuit breaker panels. So in the pictures, you can clearly see gaps in the electrical circuit breaker boxes. Open gaps in electrical panels or breaker boxes are an electrocution and fire hazard exposure. The business should install cover plates in these electrical panel boxes to make sure the gaps are properly sealed off. The cover plates will help prevent bodily injury from electrical contact and electrical shorts or sparks from igniting surrounding materials. So why is this important? Let's kind of take two examples here. One, let's just say the lights went out and an employee tried to flip the breaker box back on, and their fingers just accidentally kind of went through that little gap. This is just a bodily injury waiting to happen. The other one would be in regards to kind of the property side. If the power was to go out and there was a surge, the sparks, again, could ignite nearby combustible boxes that were left around the breaker box. So a lot of this really just comes down to kind of simple fixes, which are, do you have proper clearances around the electrical equipment? And then also, do you have the proper covers in place? So let's kind of go to that poll question now. Shelby, you got this one?
Yep, this is a question I get a lot when I'm out in the field. What is the minimum clearance distance in front of electrical panels where items and materials cannot be stored? Is it A, 12 inches, which would be 1 foot, B, 24 inches, C, 36 inches, D, 48 inches? One thing about restaurants and bars, they never have enough storage, and that's a place things tend to land. So got a lot of people chiming in. Give it just a second here for everybody to answer. Got just about everybody. Gonna close it up. Looks like most people are giving us C, 36 inches as the answer. Frank, you want to take the answer on that one?
Yes, 36 inches or 3 feet is the correct answer. This is to help reduce the possibility of fire from sparks generated from arcing or short circuiting. If you have a power surge, you don't want sparks flying out of your box. The 36-inch clearance is all the way around as well, from top to bottom and straight across. All right, I'm going to talk about the following. I'm going to talk about the top electrical hazards in restaurants and bars, but specifically these points: missing electrical outlet cover plates, improper electrical installations within exhaust hoods, improper use of extension cords, overloaded power strips, abandoned wiring that has not been removed. All right. Switch cover plates and receptacle cover plates are designed to prevent people from coming into contact or touching properly installed live electrical parts that are inside the switch receptacle box. When the live parts inside the box are properly installed and the cover plate is on, those parts will not be normally exposed to human contact. Switches and outlets without cover plates will likely become a dust trap and ultimately a fire hazard. Lint and dust act as kindling when they accumulate, and uncovered electrical outlets are lint and dust accumulation spots. Cover plates are intended to contain fire and prevent electrical shock from exposed wires. Cover plates should be installed or replaced when missing. And now we're ready for the next slide.
You should have slide 16 up.
All right, my computer froze up. You may have to tell me when these slides, it is what it is, Shelby. You're going to have to tell me when these slides advance now, okay?
The wonders of technology.
Yep, froze up cold. All right, we're going to now talk about improper electrical installations within the exhaust hood. Glass globes on light fixtures protect the light bulbs in your kitchen hood from grease buildup and the heat generated by your cooking equipment. Grease buildup on hood lights is a severe fire hazard. Glass from broken light bulbs not protected by glass globes falling into food that is being cooked for your customer. This results in kitchen equipment that must be taken out of service until cleaned, which results in loss of income and food that must be thrown out. Hood lighting must be protected with properly fitted and installed globe-sealed covers. This will help prevent employee injury, foreign particles in food, and the spread of fire and property damage. Baffle filters must be installed vertically to properly protect the grease found in cooking grease vapor and allow the liquid grease to flow into the grease pan. If the filters are installed horizontally, the grease builds up in the filters, which increases the risk and severity of fire. All right, next slide. These two fluorescent light fixtures installed in the exhaust hoods are not listed by UL for installation under a kitchen exhaust hood. The buildup of grease from grease vapors on the unlisted fixtures increases the fire hazard. To prevent the hazard of fire and property damage, the light fixture should be replaced by a contractor with a new hood light with new hood light fixtures specifically approved for such use, which would be UL listed. All electrical installations should conform to the current edition of NFPA, National Electric Code. We're going to now talk about the proper use of extension cords. Extension cords can overheat and cause fires when used improperly. Overheating is usually caused by overloading or connecting appliances that consume more watts than the cord can handle. Damaged extension cords can also cause fires. Extension cords should only be used temporarily. Do not use an extension cord for more than one appliance. A heavy reliance on extension cords is an indication that you have too few outlets to address your needs. Have additional outlets installed where you need them. Extension cords in water are an electrocution hazard. Replace extension cords used as permanent wiring in the kitchen or building. To decrease possible electrical and fire hazards, permanent electrical wiring should replace the use of an electrical extension cord in the kitchen or building. The permanent wiring should be installed per the latest edition of NFPA, National Electric Code. I want to point out this picture to the right. We got an extension cord. This is a metal door, and it's running under this door. You can see when this door is opening and closing, it's damaging the cord. This is a severe employee electrocution hazard. Using extension cords properly is critical to your safety. With continuous use over time, an extension cord can rapidly deteriorate, creating a potentially dangerous electric shock or fire hazard. Do not substitute extension cords for permanent wiring. Do not run through walls, doorways, ceilings, or floors. Damaged extension cords should not be spliced. They should be replaced. Damaged extension cords are a fire and electrocution hazard. Extending the length of an extension cord by daisy chaining is a serious fire hazard. Daisy chaining is the connection of two or more extension cords or power strips. Daisy chaining is usually a result of inadequate access to power outlets and can lead to overloaded circuits and fire risk. Extension cords are meant to be used as temporary wiring, but often become permanent and in turn become a fire hazard. Overloaded power strips. Now, if you look at this power strip on the left in the kitchen, you're looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, my gosh, 5 outlets plugged into it. This is an extremely overloaded power strip. Can you overload a power outlet? A power point overload occurs when you exceed the maximum amperage of the electrical circuit you are using. This can be caused by plugging too many appliances into one power point or running appliances that draw high amps at the same time. The result of an overload can be a short circuit and quite possibly a fire. This is also a problem in offices when staff plug too many office machines into one power strip. This can result in a fire. All right, now we're going to cover abandoned wiring that has not been removed. If you have an older building, chances are someone made upgrades to the electrical system over the years. If done improperly, you're left with a patchwork of modifications that greatly increases the risk of building fire. If you notice flickering, dimming, or buzzing lights, or burn marks around your electrical outlet, call a licensed electrician immediately. If your building was built in the 20s, the electrical code did not anticipate the modern appliances used today. The old wiring is often rated for lower amps and cannot keep up with the power demands of modern appliances, which in turn cause building fires. Electrical wiring is only meant to last 30 to 40 years. Having old building wire replaced, electricians consider on a case-by-case basis. Have an electrician survey bars and restaurants so he can recommend the best course of action to bring your building up to code, your wiring up to code. Wiring that is not up to code should be replaced by a licensed electrician. We're now going to address abandoned wiring that has not been removed. Exposed wires should be taken seriously. Until you are certain the wire is not live, you should treat the wire as if current is flowing through it. Aluminum wiring. This is a serious hazard. Aluminum was a common material for commercial buildings and homes in the 60s and 70s. It was substituted for copper during a shortage in the 1960s and 70s. The aluminum over the time turned out to be a poor choice for electrical wire. It corrodes much faster than copper and is associated with fire hazards. If you have aluminum wiring in your building, it is only a matter of time before you will have electrical issues. Signs you should replace old wiring when these occur. Dimming or flickering lights. These are signs of damaged wiring. Buzzing switches and outlets. This could be a sign of loose wires in the electrical box that could cause a short circuit fire. Burning stench, which is caused by short circuits, which is causing the smell and also causes a fire. Switches or outlets that shock. A shocking outlet or switch is a good indicator that something is wrong. So when you touch it, you get an electrical shock. Circuit breakers and fuses that keep on tripping. This could mean appliances are exceeding the amperage of the circuit breaker or fuse. We're going to talk about frayed wiring. Rodents and pests can chew up your wiring, causing a fire hazard. You've got a hot wall outlet when you touch it. A hot wall outlet indicates an electrical problem and fire hazard. To determine if wiring is unsafe or should be replaced, it should be inspected by a licensed electrician.
All right, thanks, Frank. That's all really good information. Got one more question that's a seasonal question here. How many Christmas tree fires occur each year in homes? Is it A, 400, B, 300, or C, 160? Got just about everybody having voted here. We'll go ahead and close it up, and looks like most people think 400. Mike, what's the answer on that?
Well, actually, Shelby, the answer is C. It's 160. Actually, according to the National Fire Protection Association, from the years 2014 through 2018, fire departments responded across the country to an average of 160 home structure fires per year that began with Christmas trees. These fires caused an annual average of 2 deaths, 14 injuries, and $10.3 million in direct property damage. So although the number of home fires beginning with Christmas trees is fairly small, it's important to remember that these items are generally in use only for a short time each year. And of course, not surprisingly, 3/4 of the Christmas tree fires occurred in December or January. Okay, so my part to talk about three things here. We're going to talk about fuses. We're going to talk about knob and tube wiring and live Christmas trees installations. So let's first talk about fuses. You can see in the picture here, you've got a single open fuse box and 2 fuse box setup. I first want to define, what is a fuse? In most basic terms, a fuse is a sacrificial overcurrent protection device. And of course, what they consist of is a metal strip or a wire element, which is mounted between a pair of electrical terminals, and then it's enclosed by a non-combustible housing such as ceramic or glass. For the most part, fuses were replaced by circuit breakers in the late 1950s because they're not designed to deal with the increased electrical loads of modern living in regards to electrical and technology advancements of today. So how do they work, you say? When an electrical current, which is too large for a fuse to handle, comes through the fuse, the wire element itself will melt and break and stop the flow of electricity. So with these fuses also come safety concerns. If you use a fuse that's too large for the application, let's say you go with a 60 amp fuse when it's supposed to be a 20 amp fuse, that creates a significant fire hazard because the fuse would no longer stop the flow of electricity when it was required. So some people, and you may have seen this, have even used copper pennies in place of a fuse or a metal bolt or something else. And of course, this provides no protection at all, and it really shows the vulnerability of this type of a system. Also, most, if not all, electricians will no longer maintain a fuse box system because it is outdated technology, and electrical panels with circuit breakers are now the standard. A fuse box system, if it's not continually maintained, the risk of fire and shock hazard is significantly increased. And because of that, of course, it's very difficult to find an insurance company who's willing to provide coverage for properties who still use a fuse box. So it's very likely that your customers will be forced to replace it before you can get insurance coverage on that. The next thing, let's talk about a little bit about knob and tube wiring. And here's a few pictures of it for you to look at. This system was used mainly from the 1880s up until the 1940s. And what it is it's an old two-conductor wiring method that consists of hot and neutral wires separated from each other. So the knobs are ceramic and connected to the frame construction to hold the conductors in place. And the tubes are also ceramic and run through the framing members to protect the conductors. So there's obviously safety concerns with this too. Electrical capacity issues will create damaging voltage and surges, shocks, and since there's no fuses or breakers to prevent this, it lacks a ground wire, making it incompatible with modern three-prong appliances and devices. So this will put your electronics at risk of damage. It puts people at risk of shock and property at risk of fire. The fires usually start when the wiring is covered by insulation, because knob and tube wiring was designed to be installed in a free air environment so that you can dissipate the heat that it produces. Now, this is especially true in attics and walls with insulation, because the heat that's generated, the higher temperatures weaken and damage the wiring, setting the stage for a structure fire. Again, just like in the fuse box, it's going to be very difficult to find an insurance company who's willing to provide coverage for properties who still use knob and tube wiring. And that's why it's, again, likely that customers are going to be forced to replace those. Okay, live Christmas trees. The National Fire Protection says that live Christmas tree users outnumber artificial tree users by a 3-to-1 margin. These live trees actually account for around 160 fires per year, like we discussed earlier. And you also have issues with electrical distribution and lighting equipment, which involves fires in over half of these. Now, this includes failure or malfunctions of decorative lights, wiring cords, plugs, and bulbs also. Just a few safety tips to talk about when it comes to these live Christmas trees. Some of these are common sense, but always place your tree away from heat sources like fireplaces, radiators, candles, or heat vents, and keep the tree filled with water to avoid a premature drying out of the tree. Also, you're going to want to make sure that Christmas tree lights are tested and approved by UL, or Underwriters Laboratories, for safety, and discard any damaged lights or light strings. Using small lights will help reduce the time it takes to dry the tree out. Discard the tree within 4 weeks of purchase, as most will be dried out and needles lost by then. However, it's important to remember that you do not want to cut the tree up and burn your tree in a fireplace or a wood stove. The reason for that is that evergreen trees have a high content of flammable turpentine oils, which contribute to creosote buildup and can lead to a chimney fire. The good news is that there has been a steady decline of the number of Christmas tree fires from the 1980s until now, as structure fires have fallen about 54% during this time period. To sum things up here, I'm just going to read through this. To prevent electrical fires, damaged equipment, and electrical shock hazards, an electrician. Step 1, think about the electrical hazards outlined in this presentation. Identify those that exist at your business. Step 2, use the corrective actions provided in this presentation to eliminate the hazards. You know, protect your customers and employees from injury and your property and equipment from damage related to electrical fires and electrical shock hazards and electrocution incidents. And this is very important. I think we've all three mentioned this. All inspections and repairs should be completed by a licensed electrician. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Mike. That's a lot of good information, especially with it being the holiday season now. We've got some resources here that places you can get additional information, like the Municipal Electrical Inspector, some different things like that. The National Electric Code is always a good resource. And Society Insurance Risk Control Department, we're always an amazing resource and always there for you. I have attached 2 handouts that you can save. Always like to have something people to take away. The kitchen electrical hazards handout and electrical safety, we got those attached in English and Spanish. There are additional handouts on electrical safety, but also just all kinds of different topics, basically anything you could possibly need for your restaurant or bar that are on Society Insurance's website under the risk control tab. So hope everyone will take a minute and go take a look at those, and hopefully there's some resources that'll be helpful for you. If you don't see what you're looking for, reach out to one of us, and we're always available, so see if we can help out. Now we will take any questions. I have had a few come in. If you think of something, feel free to go ahead and add it in there under the chat tab, and I will get to it. Let's see, the first one I've got, she's asking, it says, plastic containers are allowed to be stored by the electrical breaker boxes in my business, but I don't have much storage space. So is it allowed if I don't have much storage space? Adam, what are your thoughts on that one?
Yeah, I would love to answer that. Thanks, Shelby. Well, plastic is better than cardboard or other combustible materials. It is not allowed within 36 inches of any electrical panel box. This is because in case there was some type of emergency, someone needs to be able to have quick access to the panel box. It's more of an emergency response issue and clearance issue in regard to that. Thanks for that question, though.
All right. And the next one, this one's kind of scary. He says, my breaker box does seem to run a bit hot from time to time, and I can see a bit of blacking around the box, but it's been there since the prior owner of the building. Is that still an issue? Frank, let's see. Frank, you want to take this one?
Thank you, Shelby. Shelby, this might be a significant issue. Sometimes the breakers will have hot spots, which are caused by excessive heat within an electrical panel. They are created by corroded connectors or wires, overloaded circuits, short circuits, imbalanced electrical loading, and or faulty fuses, breakers, or switches. Our Society risk control reps carry around heat guns that can evaluate your breaker box for hot spots that show signs of these issues. However, ultimately, your electrical circuit breaker panel will need to be looked at by a certified, licensed, and insured electrical contractor to determine what repairs need to be made. They are the best resource for evaluating your electrical breaker box. I would recommend that you get in touch with a licensed electrical contractor as soon as possible.
All right. That's always scary when we go into a building and see the blackening around the circuit breaker panels. So she also got a question is a warm extension cord a problem? Let's do one for Mike Dilley. Do you want to take that?
Sure, I'll be glad to. Thanks for the question. Shelby, I've actually run into this a few times. If you have an extension cord that feels warm, it's probably an indication that it's overloaded, which can, of course, lead to a fire or electrocution. So what needs to be done is to have the extension cord replaced with permanent wiring to prevent having to use these extension cords consistently for long periods of time. That's what I'd suggest.
All right. And got one more. It says, have you noticed additional fires with the Grubhub, DoorDash, or Uber Eats tablets catching fire? We're starting to see those on the counters behind the reception areas of restaurants all the time. So the tablets catching fire, says I had a fire with that and ways to prevent those losses. Frank, you want to take that?
Yes. What I would do is I would periodically just touch these tablets by touch to see if they're running warm or not. And if they're hot, they need to be replaced. That's my best suggestion.
That's new technology that we're seeing change every day. Okay. I don't see any more questions. So with that, I really want to thank everybody for stopping in and spending a few minutes with us. I hope there was some good information. Be sure to go take a look at it, or if you have somebody else you think would benefit from the information, go to the YouTube channel. It'll be uploaded shortly and available anytime. Hope everybody stays warm and has a good holiday season. And if you need more information, go to societyinsurance.com under risk control, and we will do whatever we can to help you anytime. All right. Thank you.